Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. My name is Noor Binti Sapian. I am fashion lecturer from Sabak Bernam Community College. Today I would like to present my research titled about exploration of batik block on vegetable tan cow leather for Malaysia craft. The content of the presentation today is introduction, research problem, research question and research objective, literature review, methodology, result and conclusion. Introduction. Batik is one of the country culture heritage that needs to be preserved for future generation. Batik is also one of the product and the micro entrepreneur that generate income for the country's socio-economy. To ensure that batik remains relevant, batik needs to be fresher and more contemporary to meet the needs and demand in the global and local market. Therefore, this study focuses on the exploration of batik process on vegetable tan cow leather as an alternative material to producing batik craft. The approach used in this study to collect data is to use qualitative and experiment method. This study aims to find alternative materials in the production of batik in attracting the interest of the community and maintaining the art of handicraft heritage in Malaysia. In addition, this study to provide added value to leather product available in the market today as well as further expand the demand for leather products among the community from within and outside the country. Meanwhile, the research problem for this research is to ensure that batik can compete with other more modern and stylish products, but it needs to be fresher and more contemporary to ensure that the demand for batik product is always in demand from every generation and not just according to the season or ceremony. Based on previous studies, the innovation may focus only on the technique, color, and process of removing the wax. However, in terms of materials, other than fabric are still less explored, especially in Malaysia. The research question for this research is what are other materials that have the potential in producing batik? Meanwhile, the research objective is to experiment other materials that have the potential to produce batik. For literature review can be categorized into 5 categories involving the Malaysia craft industry, batik background, batik trend, batik materials, and batik innovation. According to Mushroom and Nawi, batik industry belong into the category of micro enterprise but considered as the contributor of industrial development in the country. Malaysia batik is in high demand from the local and foreign market because of the uniqueness. Meanwhile, for batik background, according to Abdullah Jumain and Ahir, word batik is derived from Javanese uh, combination of tik and ambatik, which carries the meaning of drawing, writing, paint, and dots. Meanwhile, according Yunus, the word batik refers to the process of decorating and coloring for fabric using wax technique. However, Perbadanan Kemajuan Kraftangan Malaysia 2019, um, batik product can be defined as the product produced has a batik pattern design on any part of it no matter how it is produced. And batik in Malaysia has been operating since the 19th-20th century at Kelantan by Haji Cik Su bin Ishaq. Batik trend in Malaysia. On the previous studies, state that the pattern of Malaysia batik mostly are leaf, flower and geometrical motif, but some of the religions in Malaysia does not allow animal and human motif. In terms of the pattern size and color, it's more large, lighter and vibrant, and natural fabric such as cotton, silk, linen, wool and cambric was a general material to produce batik. Nowadays, batik not only for garment but also for modern fashion, handicraft and household items like leather product, wooden craft, painting, household ceramics and many others. Young generation nowadays is more like trendier, relaxed and modern style, and in terms of color is more natural than vivid color such as brown, black and white. For material, at the beginning of the emergence of batik in Malaysia, in the early 20s, batik was produced on white cotton fabric to produce sarong. Until now, fabric from natural types such as silk, cotton and linen are still widely used by batik entrepreneurs in Malaysia, while the use of man-made fabrics such as rayon was introduced in the 90s, such as satin silk and jacquard silk fabric. According to the previous study in batik innovation, evolution in the batik industry has brought various innovation in batik manufacturing, process, batik product, as well as marketing and organizational method. The use of technique and process such as the use of young banana steam, potato wood, metal, etc. have produced more varied pattern and design. In addition, the use of materials such as linol or sagu paste as an alternative material to replace wax as a color barrier in producing batik pattern. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, batik has been produced on leather fabric as an alternative fabric using eco-print technique and also ikat technique to produce batik design. For methodology, the researcher used experiment to answer the research question and research objective to identify the material and method batik process suitable to produce batik. Experiment procedure will be divided into three phases. The experiment was conducted to investigate the suitable batik process on leather material. The preparation of equipment and selection of material was carried out in phase 1. The selection of material depends on leather type and leather properties. This study chose vegetable tan cow leather because they can absorb water and color. Meanwhile, phase 2 is experiment on batik making process involve the waxing and dyeing process. And lastly is phase 3 is experiment on batik finishing process. This is a summary of the finding from the experiment conduct. The researcher chose the two best samples from the 10 samples produced. This sample used the block technique on vegetable and cow leather. Overall, based on the experiment conduct on leather material and batik process, it was found that vegetable tan cow leather using batik process are suitable to be used to produce batik craft. The result of the experiment was found that the appropriate wax temperature for the leather is between 65 degrees to 70 degrees. Meanwhile, the type of color on leather it depends on the chemical structure of the material and the original color on leather surface. The color result for vegetable tan cow leather using rimazole dye more to subdued. Meanwhile, the best solution to remove the wax on leather surface is using peel-off method. The mixture of wax, resin and vegetable oil affect the level of brittleness of the wax so that it can be easily removed after it has cooled. Wax is easier to remove using block technique because the wax does not penetrate into the grain. The adherence rate of wax to leather is important that wax removing process is easier when the wax temperature is low. Therefore, acrylic and wax solution was used as a color fixing and finishing for the dye. This method has two stages, which is the first stage is rub the surface with acrylic solution using rubbing to fix the color. The leather need to dry around 5 until 10 minutes before applying the wax solution as a finishing. This step is important to prevent the color from water and light. The output from the experiment show the structure of leather is not effect. This is evaluated based on the rate of the degree of permeability and durability of the dye, as well as the visual appearance on the leather. Therefore, vegetable cacao leather has more potential because it is produced better quality in terms of aesthetic value and visual appearance. And lastly, for the conclusion, vegetable tan cow leather has the potential in producing batik craft as an alternative material other than natural fabric. This study needs to be studied in depth to propose to the relevant industry. The present result indicates that the appropriates of the batik process on leather differ from the traditional batik process. The wax remover is using a peel off method to replace the sodium silicate as a color fixing indication, and the wax temperature is the most critical parameter in the process. The quality of batik on leather in future could be improved by using the batik process on leather. Therefore, this technique and process can develop creativity and innovation in the batik area as an alternative material for producing batik craft. Through this study, the inheritance of batik textile can be sustained through the innovation of new materials in the batik craft industry. Thank you and have a nice day.